First question.
Father.
Initials EN from Melbourne, Australia. Assalamu alaikum Mufti. Is praying in a classroom where one is facing lockers which has pictures on it okay?
طيب بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Alhamdulillah, glad to be back. Glad to be back with the worldwide disciples after we were with the British disciples, walillahi alhamd. And also there were some brothers who came from other countries such as Switzerland and a few other places just to Birmingham or London or Leicester or whatever, or wherever we were to benefit and to listen, walillahi alhamd. The trip to the UK was nothing short than amazing. It was wonderful, it was fantastic. Wala hawla wala quwwata illa billah. We had a great time. Our hosts there, they took very good care of us. Brother Noor, Nawwarahullah, wa hadahu. Brother Abu Isa, may Allah preserve him. And Brother Muhammad from London, may Allah Azza wa Jalla reward him well and give him success to all which is good in this life and in hereafter. We met a few of the mashayikh there in the UK, along with countless talabatul ilm and numberless disciples of hadith. Walhamdulillah. It was a success by Allah's grace and by Allah's permission. And of course, like any other trip, there are going to be road blocks, obstacles, bumps. There's going to be a flat tire. You're going to get lost in a direction or two. There are going to be challenges in the trip, speaking a figure of speech. But despite all of that, no one could put out the light of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nobody, as we know as a fact. There are many different points of reflection that I can make on the trip for myself. My companions that were there with me, Brother Abu Sa'id, Brother Al-Amin, many different things we could extract and deduce, but we're not going to do that right now. What's important is that we want to manifest our gratefulness to Allah first and foremost, and we wish to display our thankfulness to the disciples there. Every single masjid, just like before, if not even more, was jam-packed. With no place to sit, no place to walk. There was never enough time to answer all of the questions and to give everyone what they wanted. It was a very, very, very humbling experience, just like the first trip, but even more, in my humble opinion. And it was good to see the disciple culture spreading more. Okay, the disciple culture was spreading, I would say, far, far heavier than it was before. All right. As far as the jealous, envious people, the haters, critics, or whatever the case may be, because all criticism doesn't have to be based off of jealousy. But we know those miskeen individuals, their criticism is only based off of jealousy and hatred. All right, and they look at themselves to be the Puritans of Islam, that everyone's going to the fire of hell immediately, and they have an immediate promise into paradise. And anyone who differs with them, let alone speaks out against them, let alone points out their mistakes and their errors, is of course doomed to the fire of hell. All right, we know that's been their manhaj, and that is their manhaj, and only Allah knows the people that will come out of that. The last thing I'm going to say right now is that I had several brothers come up to me, two specifically, with regards to the fitan on the internet. One brother was in the first masjid in which we visited the night or the day in which we landed, was in Reading. He came up to me to apologize. And he said to me, these were his words. He says, I used to be with Salafi publications and Maktab al-Salafiyah, but I've made repentance from them. I've left them. Allah has guided me from them. And he said to me, he says, I personally apologize to you for the things that I said about you, and I used to talk ill about you, but now I benefit from you tremendously, and I learned a lot from HadithDisciple. Then he started asking some questions with regards to studying Hanafi fiqh, and with regards to certain scholars who are Deobandis or Sufis, etc., etc. Then another time, I think we were in London. It was Masjid Tarbiyah, I believe. There was a brother who came up to me, and he was very confused. He asked me about what was going on the internet, and this sheikh and Sheikh Fulan and this one and that one. Where do I go? What do I do? So on and so forth. So I gave him advice to go back to the direct source. If it's something that I said, go back to where I said it. Listen to it yourself. If it's something in which I defended myself, or a place in which I explained what I meant, or my proofs and evidences, or my criticism against my critics, counter criticism, you should go back and watch it yourself. Don't take it from me, nor take it from Fulan Alan, but take it from a direct source. And alhamdulillah, that was the advice that we gave some students of knowledge in Medina some years ago. And with some of those brothers, it proved to be very effective, Abu Saeed? And others, unfortunately, or most, it didn't prove effective. And that's probably the main reason behind a lot of these different fitan is taqleed. All right? And a person not living outside of the bubble of taqleed. Taqleed, which was considered to be ugly and filthy to the Salaf al-Salih and to the ulama of Hadith. And oftentimes people, not only are they just layman blind followers, but they claim to be students of knowledge. Rather, some people claim to be scholars. Some brothers claim to be mutamakkineen, and they live a life of taqleed. They'll talk about someone, they'll disparage someone, they'll reject someone. And when they're asked, why are you talking about Brother Fulan or Sheikh Fulan or this scholar? They say, because Sheikh Fulan refuted him, and he says he's an innovator, and he wants from him, so on and so forth. Okay, tayyib, no problem. And you consider yourself to be a talib al-ilm. Yes. Did you read his own defense? Did you actually hear what he said on tape? Did you watch his lecture? Did you read the book yourself? He'll say, no, I didn't read his book. I don't have to read his book because Sheikh Fulan is trustworthy. Sheikh Fulan is the Imam, Sheikh Fulan is Kala, Sheikh Fulan, and the brothers and blah, 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 blah. So how is it possible for this equation to make sense now? How can you be A talib al-ilm, B, attack the honor of a Muslim, let alone declare him to be a deviant? We know the seriousness of this term. You're saying that he is deserving of hellfire, that he's going to the fire of hell for being a disobedient servant to Allah and His Messenger through bid'ah and through dalal and through inhiraf. Guide us to the straight path. غَيْرِ الْمَغْضُوبِ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا الضَّالِّينَ. Alright? Either you know when you don't act, or you act without knowing. Those are the two main directions of what? Of dalal. Of Allah's ghadab and Allah and the dalal. غَيْرِ الْمَغْضُوبِ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا الضَّالِّينَ. You know, but you don't implement it. Implementing the Jews, or imitating the Jews. Or you don't know, and you act imitating the Christians. So that's a serious statement to make about a Muslim, let alone a scholar, a student of knowledge, someone who has a virtue. So if you're a student of knowledge, that's the first step of the equation. You consider yourself to be a talib al-ilm, and you consider yourself to follow the Salaf, to be Salafi. All right, no problem. You attack another Muslim, disrespect him, infringe upon his honor. 3, you haven't read what he said. You haven't seen what he said. You're making everything that you do against this Muslim from another scholar or another student of knowledge, and you consider yourself a student of knowledge. How does that add up now? So this is the advice that I gave him. Don't take it from me. Don't take it from them. Go to the direct sources, and maybe you'll see what was or what wasn't said. Maybe it'll make more sense to you if you go to the direct source. Maybe Allah will guide you and open your heart if you go to the direct source. We're not talking about nobody flying on a magic carpet. We're not talking about people going to the graves. We're not talking about something which is clear, plain dalala that everyone knows. We're talking about someone who's teaching the books of the people of knowledge. Someone, a scholar that has a pedigree, has an isnad of ilm and sunnah, and he supposedly said a statement or made a mistake or went to a masjid or so on and so forth. And you as a student of knowledge, you have not heard what he did himself, seen it himself, let alone go and read what they said in their defense and the criticism against their critics. And you consider yourself to be a student of knowledge and a talib of ilm. So this is a very sad thing that many brothers in the UK have been plagued with, and those who imitate them and follow them in the United States are the same, if not even worse. Okay, most people today, one of the reasons why the fitna continues to perpetuate is that they don't know what the person that they're talking about has actually said, nor are they willing to go and sit down and watch the lecture themselves, nor are they willing to read the defense of that person. And that was the advice that I gave to that brother, that young miskeen youth in the masjid. Only Allah knows, how disturbed he was. I felt very sorry for him, and he was very confused. And there were many other brothers like that there as well. But with all of that being said, there were, as I said, countless disciples, countless brothers. Wallahi, every 2 seconds we were turning around, Someone was thanking us, making dua for us. We even some of the mashaykh that we met, they were disciples of Hadith. I watch your videos, I benefit from it. I watch it online. I get to meet you in person. Next time, come to our masjid, come to our center. So it's a very beautiful trip. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to accept it, to make our intentions pure, sincere, and honest, and to allow us to be upon the Sirat al-Mustaqim. That's all we'll say for now. As far as the actual question from Australia, and once again, we apologize to those brothers and sisters for not being able to go out there and visit them. Allah knows we tried. Allah knows we made our attempt to go, but it just was not the will of Allah at this moment. What the future, what we'll see in the future, we'll see in the future if Allah gives us life. And we'll try to come back, inshallah ta'ala. Can you make salah in a classroom towards lockers which have images upon them? This has to be avoided. It should be avoided. Find another room to pray in. Find a way to cover those images, even if it's just temporary. Find a corner in which those images are not. If you don't find another room, you don't find another corner, you don't find a way of covering it, there's no way you can avoid it, then fear Allah the best you can, make the salah, and inshallah your prayer will be valid. Bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, but it has to be avoided, okay, for several reasons. Wallahu a'lam.
Initials OA from Riyadh, King of Saudi Arabia. Assalamu alaikum Mufti. Hope you're doing well. Please share with us about your experience in the UK. Also, what physical books do you carry when you're on a trip?
May Allah bless you as well, Akhi, and all of the Muslims in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Alhamdulillah, like we just said, I think that what we just said will suffice with regards to your request. As far as what physical books do you carry, sometimes I may carry some journals with me, some diaries to write some experiences, write down wisdoms of the ancient wise quotes. I may have my daftar with me, that I have different daftars with fawaid, ilmiya, hadithiyya. All right. Of course, the disciple culture is always to have reading material on you at all times. So I may have certain books that I never leave the house with, period. At home, train, plane, car. And I have certain books that are specific for the airport, when I'm going to be standing for some time, or I'm going to be held up, or I'm going to be jet lag, or whatever the case may be. Wallahu alam.
Initials EN from Melbourne, Australia. Can one give away flowers to churches because of the attacks on Christians in Sri Lanka? Like we received the flowers because of Christchurch.
Question comes from Melbourne. Giving flowers to a church with regards to bombings or attacks in Sri Lanka because the Muslims in New Zealand or other places received flowers. I wouldn't advise with it. There's nothing wrong with doing community work, helping people out as human beings. Nothing to do with religion. Someone is your neighbor. Nothing to do with religion. Standing against oppression. All right? And oppression is it's not okay, like we've explained before. All right? Standing against dhulm and the dhalimeen and making inkar al-munkar. And if a munkar is allowed to take place, whether that munkar comes through killing non-combatants and civilians and things like this, it can happen to the Christians one day, and next thing it's a masjid. They blow up a synagogue, then they blow up a masjid. They shoot someone who's, let's say for example, a homosexual. And the next thing you know, they shoot someone who's wearing a thobe or an abaya. It can happen. It's dhulm. You have no authority to kill this person like this in the street. So that's the stance of Islam, the Muslims. They should always take a stance against the dhulm and the dhalimeen to the best of their ability. As far as consoling non-Muslims upon death and tragedy and things like this, then of course, we're neighbors. Of course, we have family members who aren't Muslim, and offering some types of support, whether it's moral support or emotional support or financial support to certain non-Muslims in certain situations is not necessarily prohibited. Certain situations, certain people, certain things. Praying for their souls, that's a different story. Being upset with the qadr of Allah, different story. But if you had a non-Muslim family member or a non-Muslim co-worker and they said, my mother died today, of course you're going to say, that's tough. I'm sorry to hear that. Can I sit down? If it was a man and you're a man, you give him a pat on the back or a hug. If it's your aunt, you're her mahram, she's a non-Muslim, you gave her a hug, she's crying, she's emotionally distraught. It's one thing, okay? That's one thing. As far as giving them flowers specifically, I can't say it's prohibited, Allahu alam, but something that perhaps is best to stay away from. Allahu alam.
Initials EN from Melbourne. Will Allah question one for following the wrong opinion from a difference of opinion?
Question from Melbourne once again. Disciples from the lands down under, or the land down under. Will Allah punish a Muslim for following a wrong opinion, an incorrect opinion given to them? It depends how they got that wrong opinion. Did they ask a person of knowledge that they trusted and that they were honest and sincere, thinking that they had ilm and some type of piety? Inshallah ta'ala, they won't be punished for that. Following someone that you knew wasn't qualified, someone that you doubted in your heart about their religion and their deen, and you just went to them anyway just to get a exciting fatwa or an answer that suits your desires that you already want to do and your cup is totally full, that's a different story. But you may not necessarily, the concept of being punished for the wrong opinion, before that is just going to that person. That's a problem in itself. All right? So there are rules of ijtihad, just like there are rules of taqleed, and there are rules of al-ittiba', and there are rules of ifta', and there are rules of al-istifta'. There are rules to seeking a fatwa, and there are rules of giving a fatwa. There are rules of answering a question, and there are rules of asking one, just like there's an etiquette for all of that. And from those rules is to ask someone that you honestly believe knows, or can steer you in the direction of the correct information. Someone that you feel is righteous and pious. They don't have to be perfect, but someone who's trying to be righteous and they don't do major sins in public in front of the people. All right, they're outwardly righteous. They're trying to do the right thing, and they have the qualifications. Wallahu a'lam.
Initials NB from Toronto. Hayakallah Sheikh, what is considered withholding knowledge?
Question from Toronto. Initials NB. Hayakallah Sheikh. Allah yuhayyik. May Allah bless you. What is considered hiding knowledge? There are different levels to it. First and foremost is that when someone comes to you, they request you to give them some ilm that you have, and there's a need for it. And there's no major harm in you giving it. Once more, there's no harm in you giving it. You do have the knowledge. There's a need for it. The person isn't a person of fitan. They're not a fatan, someone trying to break your back, someone trying to get some controversial answer out of you, etc. That's one thing. Then you should give them the answer. As far as they are a person of fitna, or you're not too sure, or there's someone else that can answer the question better than you, or whatever the case may be, and you say, Jazakallah khairan, I refrain, there's nothing wrong with that. So there are tafasir, there are details regarding hiding knowledge. We've explained that in detail, an explanation of 40 hadith on seeking knowledge. Wallahu a'lam.
Initials YC from Sydney, Australia. What should the daily carry of a talib al-ilm / disciple be?
Questions from Sydney, Australia. What should be the daily carry of a talib al-ilm / hadith disciple be? Well, first and foremost is, I would personally recommend writing material. I would say, wallahu alam, at least 2 pens in your pocket at all time, if you're a serious disciple. And this is what I told one of the brothers in Masjid Humayrah in London. A nice brother, Talib al-Ilm, inshallah, a very beautiful character. He came up to me after the lecture and he asked me about putting together a book on 40 hadith of Nawawi, making the isnads, etc. And I pointed to his pocket. I said, where's your pocket? You're naked. He said, no, they're in my bag. I said, I always have 2. 2 is the what? The minimum. That's the nisab. If you have more than 2, that's khair, but at least 2. Secondly is, I would advise at all times a pocket metin. Whatever the metin is, at all times a what? A pocket metin. Thirdly, I would advise with small tablet in your pocket at all times. If you have a bigger or larger tablet that you carry in your book bag, or only when you're sitting down or when you're at home, whatever, al-muhim, you should have it in your hand carrying. These things should be in your pocket. At least 2 pens, or a pen and a pencil, things like this. As far as a pad or a pocket moleskin or something to write down notes, that won't hurt as well. And there are other pieces of attire or pocket carry or pocket watch, wristwatch, all different types of things. The disciple hat. We saw many brothers in the UK rocking this too, alhamdulillah. And they said, we got it what? We got the style from you, Sheikh. Well, alhamdulillah. All right? So those are some basic things, huh? And obviously this is important for those who ask these specific questions and not the general questions. What is a disciple? So the brothers and sisters who are watching, they should what? They should write these things down and put it in their what? In their manual. Let it be for the record. And obviously it's best to what? Practice what you what? What you preach. Wallahu alam. I had no idea that question was going to come. We're not faking it, huh? Inshallah.
F. Ali from London, UK. What's the ruling on playing cards? Also, Mufti, what's your view / opinions on it?
The ruling on playing cards. And what is your opinion on it, Mufti? I would say cards should be avoided in general. Certain cards aren't so bad as others. Now you have cards with the queen, the king, spade, and what else they have? It's been so long since I played cards. What Jacks. What else they have? Joker. The Joker. King, queen.
The ace of spades.
Yeah, but I'm talking like the people. It's the jacks, queens, kings, and then Joker. Right? Right? Okay. So you have the concept of these figures, the surah. That's problematic. All right. As far as cards that don't have these people on them or individuals, such as let's say Uno cards, for example, something like this. All right. Then obviously that problem is not what? It's not going to be there. Okay. Obviously, you have the concept of cards with gambling. You can play cards without gambling, whether it's poker or what's it, pinochle? What they call it? Spades. What else they play? Pinochle as a game, right? With the cards. It's been Oh, you guys too young for that. It's been ages since I played those cards, huh? Al-Muhim, gambling is going to be what? A problem. Spit. Okay, so if you're not gambling, and obviously the issue of the surah, is it a surah? Is it not a surah? Is it mumtahana, etc.? It's a disgraced surah. Al-Muhim, the dawabit of the issue of what? Tasweer. So if you have cards without no tasweer, you're not gambling. You're not doing it excessively, wasting a lot of time. All time is can be wasted. And that's one thing. I don't necessarily say it's haram. And even if a person was playing cards like virtually and it's not gambling, they're not, doing it excessively. Like any other type of harmless vice. People play basketball. People play video games. People might play chess. Things like this, huh? Wallahu alam. If you don't need those things, don't do them. Me personally, I wish I could just sit down and just read a book all day. That's what I wish I could do. But I can't. I have responsibilities. I have certain things that I have to do or certain, you see what I'm saying to you? But if you had the ability just to sit and read and benefit, that was a dream come true.
Next question.
Fadal.
Initials AA from St. Paul, Minnesota. Sheikh, could you explain the concept of a shadh qira'ah?
Tayyib. Question from St. Paul. Can you explain the concept of a shadh qira'ah? The ulama of Islam, they say that a shadh qira'ah is any qira'ah which is not mutawatira. A qira'ah which has not been reported in the manner of tawatur, meaning with a certain amount of narrators, a certain amount of fame and repute. It's been passed in and handed down through mass narration. So any narration that doesn't fall under that term or that title of tawatur, some of them they say is called what? Qira'ah shadda. Wallahu alam. That's in brief.
Initials MS from London, UK. How do we understand the athar of Imam Ahmad that mentioned how if someone from Ahl Sunnah is seen with an innovator, then he should be informed that the individual is an innovator. And if he persists, then he is also to be treated like an innovator.
Where's the question from?
London, UK.
Question from London. How do we understand the athar of Imam Ahmad if that there's a person from the Sunnah who's seen with an innovator, he should be told that he's an innovator, and if he persists, he's deemed an innovator, etc. Jazakallah khairan. First and foremost is, I would say, double check and verify that this is the statement of Imam Ahmed. That's first and foremost. Secondly, if it is the statement of Imam Ahmed, with all love, respect, and honor and veneration that we have in our hearts for him, is not the messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Thirdly, there lies no doubt that Imam Ahmed, he was a warrior, and he lived his life fighting innovations and fighting innovators, and he was given the title Qami ul Bid'ah or Qami ul Bid'ah, the destroyer of innovations. All right. So there lies no doubt Imam Ahmed's stance regarding the innovations was well known. No problem. So how does that apply to 2019? As we have explained in many lectures before, Imam Ahmed, first and foremost, was a great scholar. Imam Ahmed was extremely pious and righteous. Imam Ahmed would abandon narrators for many things. Imam Ahmed had a very staunch position against rulers who were Muslims and who ruled with the Sharia and who fought jihad and did not allow kuffar into their countries. Imam Ahmed was a complete package. Imam Ahmed was not just a person who took a stance against the Mu'tazila. He was a man who was pious, fearing of Allah all around the board. So when we want to imitate Imam Ahmed and be like him and quote him, we should try our best to do it in all aspects. Innovations, piety, righteousness, kullu shay, right? So I think one of the problems today is the people, I said this in London with regards to the title of the lecture, A Prophetic Ramadan, many people, they treat it like a cherry tree. They pick what they want from the way of Imam Ahmed or the way of the Salaf al-Salih. A perfect example of this, talking about the UK, people who talk about innovations and innovators and scholars, and that's all from the deen. And we do not differ with them on those points, that innovations are haram. Those who practice them are dispraised. Okay, we don't differ on that. The virtue of the ulama of Islam, there's no problem with that. The ulama of the deen, we love, we respect them. But what happened to Imam Ahmed's voracious appetite for ilm and his talab, how he walked to seek hadith and he went this country and that country and he studied his rihla? Where do we find you doing that? Need we call names? Need we mention people? Need we point out people who've never had any formal Islamic education? You cannot quote Imam Ahmed about the innovators because you have not followed Imam Ahmed with regards to seeking ilm, let alone being pious and righteous, and other problems that come and living in kuffar societies. Let's ask ourselves a serious question. A serious question. Would Imam Ahmed live in the UK? What do you think, Abu Saeed? Do you think he would live under the protection of the Queen and the welfare of the Queen? This is a serious question. I'm not trying to be funny. What do you think? Do you think he would live there? Do you think Imam Ahmed would live in the United States? If he knew about the United States government, what they have done, what they do, and what they're doing, and what they plan to do, their crimes and atrocities, their position and their stance, do you think Imam Ahmed would live here? Do you think Imam Ahmed would take the things that they offer for their citizens? This is a serious question. Has anyone ever thought of this? So many of the different stereotypes that people have about brothers and sisters in the UK, and I'm not saying that I believe this, but this is a well-known stereotype. And people, they say this all the time. Last time we came back from the UK, we saw a brother here in New York City. He's from Pakistan. He says, how's the UK? I have a cousin there. I said, the UK was beautiful. The masjids were packed. Alhamdulillah, every masjid is nothing like how it is here in New York. He said, oh, brother, don't worry about that. That's because they all get welfare. None of them work. They all sit in the masjids. They have nothing else to do. That's why the masjids are packed. Don't think that they're better than the United States. This is what he said. All right? Wallah al-Azim, he said this. And many other people, they make this statement too. That people have nothing else to do. They have no time. They have too much time on their hands. So they write these PDFs and they do this and they do that. Would Imam Ahmed, do you think he would live in that situation? What did Salih and Abdullah, his sons of Imam Ahmed, what did they do when they went into the house? Abdullah mentioned that if he had a pomegranate, a piece of fruit, he'd had to put it in his sleeve. He said he would have to hide it from Imam Ahmed because Imam Ahmed would see him with the fresh fruit and say, where did you get that from? We're poor. We don't have no money for that. Where did you get that from? Did you go to the ruler? Did you go to this person of dunya? Did you meet this aristocrat? Did he try to buy you out? That's the piety of Imam Ahmed. Do we have that piety? Are we striving for that piety? Do we have the scholastics of Imam Ahmed who wrote the Musnad? Do we sit down and have actual ilm study and learn and teach Imam Muhammad? If we don't, then we need to try to fill in that gap and be like Imam Muhammad as well. All right, so that's advice with regards to that situation. As far as if a person is with an innovator, doesn't mean he's an innovator, so on and so forth. First and foremost is, who is an innovator? Who is an innovator? All right, so let's just look at the UK now in the Masjid Tarbiyah situation. Abu Saeed? So, they said that the masjid was a takfiri masjid. Don't go to that masjid, stay away from that masjid, so on and so forth. No problem. One of the reasons, or I would say two reasons, which prevented us from taking that 100%. Number one is we all know how sloppy people are in quoting others. They say that Fulan said something and he didn't say it. Or you twisted it, or it's warped, or it's distorted, or a snippet is taken from a whole entire lecture. And then they say, oh, he said it and he made takfir on someone. And he didn't. He didn't make takfir on this person, whoever the person is. And I'm not talking about that masjid because I don't know what happened. Well, I'm talking about what is well known from the people who call themselves Salafi today. What they do. They are extremely sloppy in quoting others, especially if they don't like those people, or they have problems with those individuals, or they used to be friends and companions. They will attach a statement to them inaccurately, intentionally or unintentionally. Secondly is, what is your warped definition and understanding of takfir, which is against the way of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah? Making takfir against someone for sins is not the same as making takfir against someone for that which you believe they have made kufr akbar in, from the nawaqid al-Islam, regardless whether you are right or whether you are wrong. Brother Fulan, Imam Fulan, student of knowledge Fulan, scholar Fulan, he made takfir on someone or a country, whatever it is. He can be right or wrong. But he said that he's a kafir, this person is an apostate, because of an issue of aqidah, something pertaining to the things which nullify one's Islam, whether he's right or whether he's wrong. That's not the same takfir as you saying that the one who drinks alcohol is a kafir. That's the takfir of the Khawarij. If you make zina, you're a kafir. If you take riba, you're a kafir. If you do this, you're a kafir. That's not the same takfir. And once more, before the hasty people comment and say, oh, kada kada, the person can be right or the person can be what? The person could be wrong. All right? So you don't quote people accurately. And oftentimes you have a twisted understanding of what is the right or wrong takfir, the takfir of the sunnah, the takfir of the khawarij, etc. And the same applies to bid'ah. Brother Fulan is an innovator. Why? Because he said this. I haven't seen it in any of his lectures. They said the trustworthy brothers have told us this. The trustworthy people have witnessed it. Or he said it in this lecture. We go back to the lecture and we don't find him saying it. Or he said something total opposite to what you understood and how you wish to twist and interpret it. And this is one of the key features of certain scholars and certain brothers who follow those scholars. If you read their books and listen to their lectures, I guarantee you 9 out of 10 times they're not quoting directly from the one they're criticizing. 9 out of 10 times they're saying Muhammad ibn Munir said, and they are not playing the audio. They're not bringing the sentence from the book or the article 9 out of 10 times. I guarantee you this. And 9 out of 10 times, when they are counter-refuted, whether it's me or someone else, walhamdulillah, all praise for Allah, we do what? We quote it with the what? With the actual what, Abu Sayyid? Give them the voice. This is what you said. 36 minutes, 20 seconds. Paragraph number 2. This is your article. So that's a huge problem that people have. Calling people innovators, and they themselves didn't say that. Number 2 is, what is bid'ah? And what constitutes a person becoming a mubtadi'? If a Sunni falls into a bid'ah, does it mean he's a mubtadi'ah? If a Sunni falls into a mistake, does that cause a person to be a mubtadi'? So let's take an example of this. They'll say that Fulan is an innovator. He's a person of innovations. Why? Because he slandered the scholars. Slandering the scholars, permissible or impermissible? Impermissible. Ghiba of a Muslim, let alone a scholar. Is it a bid'ah? Is that an act of ibadah that a person is using to get closer to Allah? So they label people innovators based off of things which aren't even what? Innovations. All right? So anyone that they're calling a mubtadi', you have to be extremely careful. And I'm not just talking about brothers in the UK. I'm talking about scholars as well, who call people innovators and there's no innovation that they actually made. Or they will call someone an innovator, deem him to be an innovator, But when you sit down and you read the 500 page, the 1,000 page counter rebuttal, you'll find that Sheikh Fulan was wrong and Sheikh Alan was right. So we can't accept what you're trying to say about people being innovators and someone who goes to them and sits with them. What's the ruling of going to a masjid of innovation? Is it haram? If it is, what's the dalil? The specific dalil from Quran and Sunnah. Is it permissible? What's the dalil? The specific dalil from Quran and Sunnah. If it's an issue of ijtihad, what is the etiquette of differing on an issue of ijtihad? Alright? So someone who's a clear-cut mubtadi', dal mudil, calling people to misguidance, and you go to him and you sit with him and smile and laugh and joke, that's one issue. That's not the same as someone who isn't an innovator but made mistakes. Let alone someone who did not make mistakes. But the criticizer, the naqid, huwa al-mukhti, is that he's wrong. Huwa mukhalif al-kitab wa sunnah wa ijma' salaf. Alright? Let alone if it's an actual issue of ijtihad, in which is supposed to be respect for both views, or for the people who take the different views, even if you don't respect the other view. Okay? So the concept of who is an innovator, what makes a person an innovator, what's the ruling of going to a masjid of innovations, how does an entire masjid become of innovations, how do layman Muslims become innovators? Is it permissible to go to the masjid to do a beneficial lecture, calling them to Quran and Sunnah? These are all rulings, and they have their dawabit, their regulations. And it's not for some simple dropout of the language program, or some jahil who's never studied overseas, or some ignorant person somewhere writing a book or giving a lecture to determine these rulings. Okay? So the fitna of calling people innovators, calling people hizbis, refuting people, saying this one, saying that, it says, yani ammat wa tammat. It's a fitna wherever you go, it's the same. In Malaysia, UK, wherever you go, you'll find the same problem. The Muslims, the people of the Sunnah, the Tulab al-Ilm, split up, cut up, and ripped into 1,000 tiny shreds. They support the Maj, they support Spubs, they support these people, they support those people. And they're all at each other's throats. Same situation. Because it is a plague, it is a cancer in this ummah. Wal'iyadhu billah. So that's my advice with regards to this fitan, or this fitan, this fitna, is to, as we said in the UK, wa alaikum assalam to Allah, i'rif qadrak. Know your place. Know your place. And be like Imam Ahmed in all aspects of the religion. Wallahu a'lam. It's time to stop.
One last question.
Fadal. You made it in?
Assalamu alaikum Mufti. Initials AR from Tottenham, London, UK. Is it correct to call Islam, Christianity, and Judaism Abrahamic faith?
So here, question from Tottenham, UK. Is it permissible to call Islam, Judaism, Christianity, Abrahamic faiths? We say, what do you mean by the term of the word Abrahamic faiths? Do you mean that Christianity was the way of Ibrahim? I don't think there's any Muslim who would ever say that, let alone a talib al-ilm. Do you mean that Judaism is the way of Ibrahim? I don't think there's any Muslim, let alone talib al-ilm, who would say that. Do you mean that Islam, Christianity, and Judaism are all the same? I don't think any Muslim, any non-Muslim would say that in their right mind. Or do you mean all three of these religions tantasibu ila Ibrahim wa ila ilah Ibrahim? All three religions attribute themselves and their followers to Abraham, the father of monotheism. So the core principle of Islam is monotheism. The core principle of Judaism is supposed to be monotheism, as well as Christianity, regardless of the concept of the Trinity. But they're supposed to believe in one God, in opposition to Zoroastrianism, Buddhism, this ism, paganism, these types of gods and goddesses, so on and so forth. Everyone understand this? So what do you mean by Abrahamic faiths? That they're all correct? Millat Ibrahim Hanifa, وَمَا كَانَ مِنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ. Inna Ibrahim, Allah says he wasn't a Jew or a Christian, but he was a Muslim. He was Hanif, Hanifan Muslima. No one says that. But if you mean Abrahamic faiths, meaning you're talking to a Christian who accepts monotheism, and you wish to establish a general meeting place with that Christian, قُلْ يَا أَهْلَ الْكِتَابِ تَعَالُوا إِلَى كَلِمَةٍ سَوَاءٍ بَيْنَنَا وَبَيْنَكُمْ أَلَّا نَعْبُدَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. That's what the Quran says. So I don't want to jump the gun or whatever the case may be. But if you're trying to deceive people and trick people, saying that someone's in Hyde Park, saying that all three religions, Judaism and Christianity and Islam, are the same, then may Allah destroy you and may Allah curse you because you're a liar. And no one ever said that, and no one ever meant that. And that's total nonsense. Who in their right mind would say that? Abrahamic faiths, that they're all the same. Or do you mean that they all attribute themselves to what? Abraham. Now let's stop now. Just to make a point, to show you the ignorance of these people and the evil of these people. Just make an experiment, all right? Let's Google it. Let's Google the word what? Abrahamic, right, faiths. Let's see what we get, all right? Abrahamic religions or faiths. Which one? Religions or faiths? Faiths. Okay. Let's see what we get. Let's see what Google tells us. To show you the stupidity and the evil of these people. What are the Abrahamic religions? What do three Abrahamic faiths have in common? What are the three Abrahamic religions? What are the four major monotheistic religions? Then we have Wikipedia. Abrahamic religions. Tayyib. It says the Abrahamic religions, also referred to collectively as Abrahamism, are a group of Semitic-orientated religious communities of faith that claim descent from the Judaism of the ancient Israelites, etc. So we have all these different results on what is considered to be a what? Abrahamic faith. All right? And the interesting thing is, we have no results for Abrahamic faiths. I typed in Abrahamic faiths and guess what popped up? Abrahamic what? Religions. All right, so let's see what the scholars of religion say about this. Not the Muslims, but let's see what do the scholars say, all right? So it says here, in these four Abrahamic religions, not even three, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, and Baha'i faith, the individual God and the universe, etc. All right? What are the three Abrahamic religions? Three of the world's major religions, the monotheistic traditions of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, were all born in the Middle East and are all inextricably linked to one another. Christianity was born from within the Jewish tradition, and Islam developed, etc. So we see here, according to these people, that the word itself does not mean that Islam, Judaism, and Christianity are all the what? Same. Who said that? Did anyone say that so far? But they do have things in common, and that is supposed to be, number one, they are attributed to Abraham. Number two, they're supposed to be religions and faiths based off of what? Monotheism. Everyone understand this? So obviously, everyone in the park pretty much understood that. Okay? As far as, I don't even want to go any further right now, and Allah knows best. What's important is that the last thing I'm going to say before we stop, before Salat al-Isha, is that it matters not what I said in Hyde Park. Whether I said Abrahamic faiths, Abrahamic religions, Tawheed, no matter what I would do, if you are not in their group, إِذَا لَمْ تَكُنْ فِي زَمْرَتِهِمْ, then there is no hasana that you can do. And if you are in their group, then there is la dhanba, there's no sin that you have. That is the bottom line with those brothers, all right? And for FYI, since the question came up, and let the message be known for everyone, whether it be Abu Iyad or Shamsi or Anwar Wrong or whoever else it is. Let's get it straight right now. First and foremost is, and Allah is my witness, I had no intention of going to Hyde Park to debate Shamsi. Once more, I had no intention, and it's not about making people famous, or they say, why are you mentioning their names? Because the truth, the question came, all right? Once more, I had no intention to go and debate you, Shamsi. No intention. Those in my entourage, they knew this. There were brothers who says, Mufti, go to Hyde Park and debate with them. You should go get him. This is what they were saying. Go get him, Sheikh. Go destroy him. Go refute him. What did I say, Abu Saeed? I said what? I said no. I'm not going there for him. I'm not going there to argue and debate with him. Are you scared of him, Mufti? Oh, no, you should get him. You should make... I said, no, I'm not going there to debate with him. Certain people from our entourage, they took it upon themselves to go and approach Brother Shamsi, and say, won't you give salams to Mufti? Was I there? Do you see me in the video, Abdul Raqib? I didn't tell him to go and approach him. I didn't go and try to give Shamsi the salams. I have no personal relationship with him. I never knew him. I have no wish to know him. And I have no personal beef with him. Religious issues, who's with? We're not getting into that. I have no personal connection to this man called what? Shamsi. I did not approach him, and I had no desire to give him the salams. All right? What he said when he was requested to give the salams, I'm not giving him salams until he makes Toba. We sit with the scholars and not the children. That's fine. It has nothing to do with me. I was standing in the park. I saw the crowd coming, and I'm going to say the truth, and Allah is our witness. He looked my way. He immediately locked his eyes, and he turned away. And I never saw a person's face as pale and terrified and petrified than Shamsi's face that day. He looked like he saw a ghost, literally. And as Ali Dawah said, he made an extremely what? Sharp left turn. And those in the park, they witnessed that. So that's first and foremost. For Shamsi or for anyone else. I had nothing to do with him. I did not want to debate with him. If he wanted to debate with me or whatever, I'm not going to run from it. But Allah knows I didn't go to Hyde Park just for him. And the brothers who went up to him and approached him, I told them not to do that. Everyone understand this? That's first and foremost. So let that be known. Was he afraid? Was he terrified? Allahu Alam. I don't know what's in his heart. What did his face look like? We saw that. He was walking to the center of the park and he mysteriously made a sharp left turn out in the middle of nowhere. That's between him and his Lord. I have nothing to do with it, and it doesn't concern me. All right? As far as Anwar wrong, what I like to call him, then you have some nerve opening up your mouth. Over 6 years ago, I requested you and I challenged you to answer my questions, to bring your proofs and evidences for your accusations that you made against me. 6 years went by and you haven't done not one of them. You've done nothing but continue to run your mouth, be a blind follower, a tag along, and a groupie of the people that you follow and you're tag along of. So don't say nothing to me, Anwar, until you respond to me what I asked you. You went back to Sheikh Ahmed Bazmoul. You made a translation of his stuff. You cut and paste his kalam. Where is Sheikh Ahmed Bazmoul now? Is he even still Salafi? Is he Sa'afiqa? Where is he? They don't even call for him no more. But you didn't do what I asked you to do, to prove and to explain what I asked you to prove and explain. So you should keep your mouth shut. And you should not talk unless you want us to come at you again, because you didn't respond. And that was a good 6 years ago. You said nothing. And I did a 3-part detailed video on you, and you said nothing in response. So I think you should keep your mouth shut, Anwar. That's first and foremost. As far as Abu Iyad, then, I'm not even going to say anything about you. Just tell me where you studied at. What knowledge do you have? Where did you learn at? Who made you a master of comparative religion? Who made you an expert of Jarh wa Ta'dil? Who gave you the ability to write, criticize, and refute? Where do you even study at? What do you know? Who are you? Everyone understand this? Let alone the fact that the hypocrisy of the people, if you read the comment sections, are utterly appalling. They say that Brother Shamsi, he's out there in the park defending the Quran and the Sunnah and so on and so forth. He doesn't have to give salams to this person. All of the innovators out there, etc. So what's the ruling on being in the park with all of those innovators and Jews and Christians and Hebrew Israelites? What's the ruling on that, Khalid? I'm not going to give salams to Mufti. He acknowledged who I was, but I'm going to talk. Go on his channel, on his page, see how many people he's arguing with and debating with. Is he shaking anyone's hands? Is he smiling at any of them, Abu Saeed? Do they refute him? And where did he study at? So, the hypocrisy of these people, and they're not double standards, but they're triple standards, is utterly appalling. And last but not least, the last thing I'm going to say is, just like in November, we were in the UK for 6 days, for 7 days. How much did we hear from them, Abu Saeed? Not a word. As soon as we left the country, they start talking just like they did last time. What was it? Abdullah Lahmani. He started talking about me in the video. I was in the UK. Why didn't you come and say something to me? Everyone understand this? All my classes in New York City, all my classes in Philadelphia are public and they're live. I did not step to Shamsi. I had no intention to step into Shamsi. Everyone understand this? If I wanted to step to somebody in America or the United Kingdom, I would have what? I would have done that. Everyone understand this? So this is a message, all right? Specifically talking to you, Anwar. Okay? And I saw you at my nephew's funeral. You walked right past me. You said nothing to me. Just like I saw Hazan Somali at the funeral, and he couldn't even look my way. He didn't even look my direction, let alone look me in the face. Everyone understand this? So if you're talking about stepping to someone, no one is trying to what? Step to anybody. And if I wanted to step somebody, what would stop me? Everyone understand this? You can catch me in Philadelphia with how many people? How many people go to Philadelphia, Abdul Rakib? What entourage do I have with me? Tell me. How many people have with me, Khalid? You can catch me in Philadelphia what? By myself. My classes are public or private. Live stream, you know where I'm going to be at if you wanted to step to me and talk to me, refute me, or anything else. Everyone understand this? So, Yani, let these words of advice be a reminder for each and every one of you, for the internet gangsters, the thumb thugs, the keyboard warriors, It's easier to talk tough and to talk about people, but when you're refuted and criticized and asked to bring the proof and the evidence and have a scholastic debate, we don't hear from you. So Hassan Somali, Anwar Wright, or Wrong, Shamsi, anyone, whoever it is, I don't bother any of you. I don't talk about any of you. I don't criticize any of you. I don't refute any of you. And if I wanted to, I could. But if you want to talk tough and refute someone and talk to someone, then something that we've been wanting to say for all of these years, let's make a public debate. And let's settle the score. Let's see who's who and who knows what. If you're strong in your knowledge and you're confident about your position and the ulama behind you, then let's have a public debate. You pick the time, you pick the place, we have a public debate. Let's have a public debate, inshallah. And let's bring our proofs, our evidences, the statements of the ulama, and let's see who's who and what's what. Everyone understand this? But with conditions. And the first condition is that no taqleed allowed. Condition number 2, we're going to quote from the Salaf and the earlier ulama. We're not going to quote from somebody living today that can become Sa'afiqah tomorrow. Look what they did to Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi. For years, they used Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi against everyone. And look what they did to him now. Total disrespect. Threw him out off the edge. No respect. Sheikh Yahya Hajuri. The match. Now look. So we're not quoting from any scholar who's living that can turn into a mubtadi or a hizbi or sa'afiqah or musafiqah tomorrow. Everyone understand this? So if they can agree to the terms, number 1, it'll be public. The debate is not to be edited, cut. Everything is going to be transparent. 3, no taqleed allowed. 4, don't change the subject. If I'm talking to Musa Richardson, why is Abu Iyad refuting me? If I refute Anwar, why is Abu Iyad responding for Anwar? If I'm in a park with Shamsi, why is Abu Iyad writing about it? No, it's going to be an individual debate. Man versus man, person versus person. It's not going to be come to the rescue when Fulan gets ran over by a bus. La. We're not accepting that. So this is a message. Anyone who has a problem with me and what I say, and I'm this and I'm that, that's fine. But let's do it publicly. Let's set it like Muslim men in public. And if you have nothing to be afraid of or nothing to fear, what's the problem? Bismillah. I'm willing. You know where I'm at. You know what matches I teach in Philadelphia. You know where to find me. You know my number. You know my email address. You're on my channel, obviously watching my videos. I'm giving you a personal invitation to have a public debate. If you're knowledgeable and we're ignorant, you're upon the sunnah, we're upon bid'ah, you're guided and we're misguided, Bismillah.